In this video, I'm going to be showing you how we're going to be doing all of our math on the Khan Academy this quadmester. Now, I don't want you to start this video or go through this video until you've looked at all of the previous topics on the D2L content page. So make sure you've watched all the videos, you've done all the reflections for everything above the arithmetic section in our D2L content. Now, once you've done all of that, you'll notice that how I've organized our Khan Academy work is I've basically put subtopics inside of the arithmetic content section. And you'll see that this week we're going to be working on addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, and then there's also some work here with fractions, decimals, and negative numbers. And how these subtopics are organized is pretty simple. You'll see here that for addition and subtraction, there's two sections. The first here we're going to go through together, and this is going to ask you to complete a set of videos, and a set of questions relating to estimating whenever you're adding and subtracting. So we're going to go through those together. Once you finish that work, you'll notice that there is another addition and subtraction topic. If you click that, it's going to take you to a mastery assignment that focuses on everything you need to know about addition and subtraction. And as a reminder, something that we've been talking about a couple of times already, it's important that when you are working through anything on Khan Academy, and you're answering going through any of these assignments, you have to remember our mastery rule, right? The goal of this week or the theme of this week's project is apprenticeship, the idea of getting better by doing. And I'm going to be here to support you. You're not on your own, but you do need to remember a couple of things. When you go through questions, your goal is to get perfect, and your goal is to get perfect without a calculator. Now, if you have to use a calculator for any of the questions, please track down, just write in your notes what was the question about, and why you had to use the calculator. You don't even have to give the reason, but just keeping track of how many questions you had to use the calculator for helps me know where you're at with let's say your addition and subtraction skills, if you're struggling or whatnot. When we go through a question, if we get it wrong, always look at the solutions, copy them down into your notes, learn from your mistakes. I'm going to show you an example of what that means when we go through our first set of exercises here, when we go through our first assignment, but please make sure you do that. All questions in the assignment must be completed. Don't get one wrong. Say to yourself, I can't get perfect, and then just close it and try and start again. I'm asking you guys to aim for perfect, but I don't expect you to get perfect on every single assignment. That's asking too much. If you get a minimum of 80%, I'm happy. If you want to do a little bit better because you set a goal in this course to do better than 80%, that's on you. But all I'm looking for is a minimum of 80%. And if you go through one of these assignments and you don't score as well, let's say maybe you get a couple wrong, you end up with a 70, you end up with a 65, maybe you really struggle, you got only half the questions right. I want you to take another attempt. I want you to go through it again. And I want you to try to only go through or take another attempt if you think you can improve your score, right? The idea here is I want you to learn from your mistakes, learn from your previous attempts until you can't do any better. And if you're not at 80%, don't worry. You can message me. I can help you out. But the goal here is to improve after every assignment. I just don't want you spending too much time on one assignment because there's a lot to go through this week. Now, when you get to some of these content pages, you will see there are some optional links. You don't actually have to go through these if you don't want to. The reason that they are there is to support you should you be having trouble. Let's say you're going through the addition and subtraction mastery assignment here, and the first attempt you went through, you didn't do too well, and you don't know why. If there's some things maybe that you've forgotten, you can go through and look at some of the video notes that are here. If you're having trouble with word problems, I've included some information there. But once you've gone through all of the assignments on Khan Academy, you'll notice that after the final multiplication and division assignment, I've put a reflection here. And just like the previous reflections, once you've gone through all of these pages here, I'm asking you to reflect on how it went. And I need you to send the questions to me. You're going to copy and paste them. So just select them all, right click, and copy it, and paste them into a Teams message to me before answering those questions. So I'll know what you're actually writing to me about. So I'm opening up the estimation for addition and subtraction assignment here. We're going to go through this one together. I've already loaded it. Now, this is our first Khan Academy assignment, so I'm going to give you a quick tour here. If you've signed up for Khan Academy correctly, so you logged in with your MyHT Oakville account, and you've followed all of the steps, followed all the instructions, when you first sign in, you should be taken to this page here. It's called the Learner homepage. And if you aren't on that page when you first log in, just click that top icon there, the little Khan Academy button, and it automatically takes you to this page. You'll notice on the left, I have 2 courses because I've loaded both of the courses I'm teaching this quadmester here. But you should have your course on the left, on the sidebar here. And you'll see 2 links, one called Assignments, one called Course Mastery. We're really only going to use the Course Mastery link, at least for the start of the course here. And you'll see that it tells you something about arithmetic, and there's a percentage here. And you might be wondering, what does that mean? Well, using our apprenticeship model, using our mastery model, the goal for this week is to perfect and develop your skills in arithmetic. And if you click here, you'll actually see all of the content. Just skip the course challenge for now, please. We don't need to do that. You'll see all the content here that we are going to be going through this week. And it looks like a lot, but there are some things that I'm leaving out, and there's some things that we're skipping. We are going to be revisiting a lot of this content later on in the course, so don't feel too overwhelmed. But you'll notice that on the side here, there's a score, a percentage, and what these mastery points correspond to is really the number of skills that you've learned in arithmetic so far in the course. And as you go through all of the assignments that I've put in the D2L content page, you're actually going to be increasing your mastery points, and you're going to be increasing your score. And if you think back to yesterday when we were having a look at the rubric for this week's project, for our apprenticeship project, you'll notice that there was a section for each of these topics, or each of these units: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, so on. I'm going to look at how many mastery points you get for each unit, and that's going to determine your mark for that section. So let's get into our first lesson. Let's have a look here at how these Khan Academy assignments work. You'll notice that there are actually 4 links here, but they're kind of matched together. There's an addition estimation video with a mastery assignment, and then there's a subtraction video with a subtraction mastery assignment. We're going to look at the first 2 here, and I've already loaded it up. Excuse me. I've already loaded it up. And what I want you to do when we go through any of these videos is I want you to have a piece of paper in front of you, pen and paper in front of you, and sometimes you'll need a ruler for doing graphing, but I want you to have note paper in front of you, because as we go through these tasks, we're going to be taking a note. And so we're going to go through this video together here. I'm going to play it. I might pause it a couple of times and ask you to answer a question or two here. But I'm going to write out the note. And then after we finish the note, we're going to go through the mastery assignment. And I'm going to show you some of the things that we had talked about before. So let's start the video here.
Let's say that we run an egg farm, and yesterday we went out and we collected 398 eggs from the chickens, and then today we went out and we collected 251 eggs from the chickens. And what we're curious about is roughly how many eggs do we now have that we've collected over the last 2 days? Well, there's a few ways we could do that. We could just add 398 to 251 and figure out what that is equal to. But let's say that we don't have a lot of time and we don't have paper and we want to do it in our heads, and we don't care about the exact number. We want to know roughly how many eggs do we have. Well, that's where the tool of estimating is useful. So instead of saying the exact amount of eggs, we could say how many do we roughly have? And that's what this squiggly equal sign means. It means, hey, we don't have to get the exact number, but how many do we roughly have? And so we will be estimating. And the way that we can do that is that we can round each of these numbers to a number that is close to them, but that's easier to add in our heads. And then we add those two numbers. So pause this video and see if you can do that on your own before we do it together.
So as the video kind of goes on, you'll see I'm writing out some notes, just some key ideas that the video is talking about, some stuff that I wanna have written down. And you'll notice that in this video we're learning about estimating how to add large numbers together. And one of the hints that we're going to look at is how rounding these large numbers, either to the nearest tenth or the nearest tens or hundreds, can help us. So we're going to continue the video here and observe the best way to round, or really how to estimate adding large numbers.
All right, now let's do this together. Let's start with 398 and let's round it to the nearest 10. So 398, you can view this as, we have a 9 in the tens place, but you could view this as 39 tens and 8. The 10 that it is right directly above is exactly 39 tens and 0 ones, or 390. And then the next 10 would be if we go up to 40 tens, which would be the same thing as 400. Now, which one would we round to? Well, 398 is closer to 400 than it is to 390. And we've talked about in the rounding videos that you can see that this right over here is 5 or greater, so we would round the tens place up. So we would round to 400. And so 398, we round to 400. And then we're going to add that to 251. What's that rounded to the nearest 10? So I'll do that again right over here, 251. The 10 that is right below that is going to be 250. The 10 that is right above that is going to be 260. Again, you could view this as 25 tens and 1. And 251 is clearly closer to 250. We can round down. Another way to think about it is you look at the tens place, and then you look at the ones place, and you say, hey, this is less than 5, so I'm going to round down 2 on the tens place, so we get to 250. So when you round 251 to the nearest 10, you're going to get 250. Now I encourage you, add these two in your head. What would this be equal to? Well, the way that I think about it in my head, then there's a lot of different ways to approach addition, but you could say, all right, I can think about the hundreds. I have 4 hundreds, and I'm adding that to 2 hundreds. Let me do this in a new color. So if I have 4 hundreds and I'm adding it to 2 hundreds, well, that's going to be 6 hundreds. And if I have 0 tens, and if I'm adding it to 5 tens, well, I'm still going to have 5 tens. And then I have 0 ones in either case, so I'm still going to have 0 ones. And so there you have it. We were able to estimate 398 plus 251 as being roughly 650.
So when the video finishes, you'll notice that on the top here, you should get a number of energy points. And if you watch the video in full, a little pop-up will come up on the screen here that says assignment completed. So the video assignment will now be done. I hope that was pretty straightforward. I tried to choose a first lesson that was easy for you guys to follow. Now, a lot of you will probably be thinking, I didn't need to go through all of that, or that wasn't really that helpful. One thing that you can do for these videos is if you're playing them and you click on the settings tab, or the little settings button there, you can actually change the playback speed. So if you want to go at a faster rate through the video, you could go faster if you like, but I chose 1.5 playback speed.
An egg farm. And yesterday we went out and we collected 390
that'll
eggs
shorten the video.
And then today,
the other thing that I'm going to offer to you, if you really think you understand it, right? If you've gone through it and you get it, just let it play in the background. At the end of the day, I just want to know that you've gone through the video, that you've seen it. You've opened the link, and you don't get credit for the video assignment until it plays all the way to the end. If you're watching it that whole time and it helps you, great. If you don't think you need to, then don't. That'll be up to you. Now, we finished the video, so the next part of the assignment is our mastery assignment. Okay. And this is going to consist of 4 questions. We're going to go through them together right now. So you can see here, we have these, this first question. It's a multiple choice question. We have 4 options. So we're looking at 406 plus 89. What is it approximately equal to? Well, let's say we do nearest 10 again. And if I'm looking at 40, or 406, excuse me, 40 tens with 6 ones, this guy's greater than or equal to 5. So this is going to be rounded up to 41 tens. And 89, which is 8 tens and 9 ones, this guy is greater than or equal to 5. And that's going to give us 90. So if we add those two together, 41, we can do it a couple of ways, but if I look at 41 tens plus 9 tens, 41 and 9 is 50. So that's going to be 50 tens, which is really 500. And if I look at my answers here, which one is closest to that? Well, 490, if we round, that would also be 500. So that's going to be our answer. And let's check. Okay, got that one right. Now you might be wondering, why did they get a different answer? Why did they get 490 and we only got 5? Why did we get 500? Well, if you were having trouble adding these two, having rounded to the nearest 10, you could round 400 to the nearest 100, and 406 is really 400s, and 400 plus 90 is 490. That's an easier number to add. Okay, so let's look at this one here. 76 plus 739. If we look at 76, that would round to 80 if we were going to the nearest 10. If we were going to the nearest 100, if we round up, because the 7 here is greater than 5, that would be 100. Let's look at 739. So 73 hundreds and 9, that would round to 740. If we chose to round to the nearest 100, 700 is closer to 739 than 800 would be. And when we do it these two ways, let's see what answers we get. So one option that we're going to get is 800. Okay. If I look at 80 plus 740, I know that 74 plus 8, that's going to get me, so if we think 8, that's 6 and 2, right? Why 6 and 2? Well, if I add 6 to the 4 here, that's going to take me to 800, and then I still have 2 tens left over. That's 820. And notice that both of these answers here that we got, either rounding to 100 or rounding to 10, they're roughly the same, right? They round onto each other, like 820, if you round it to the nearest 100, gives you 800. And of our options here, we see A is the best choice. Now let's say I go through one of these questions and I am having a bit of trouble here with this whole estimation thing. Maybe I don't really know what's going on. And let's say I do 175 plus 729. And let's say I round incorrectly. So let's say I round this to, I don't know, let's say I round down to 100. I go to the nearest 10. And this one I round to 700. Okay. That's going to give me 800, which is one of the options here. And that's actually incorrect. The problem here is we know that I rounded incorrectly, but let's say I didn't know that. I didn't know what I did wrong. If I click Get Help, I see the solution. Okay. And I want you guys, whenever you get a question wrong, to copy down the solution just so that you have it and can refer back to it later. That's really important because one of the tricks with some of these questions is a lot of them are repeated, or at least the style of question is repeated. And if you can figure out the pattern for a lot of these questions, you're able to do quite well. So the answer is 900. And we could have seen that, because the other way we could have seen that is 729 rounds to 700, 175 rounds to 200. There's an even faster way to do that than what they did. Okay. Sometimes you might not like how they do the solutions in the answer. That's okay. Just ask me and I can show you some other tricks that can help you out. Okay. And so let's say I get this last question wrong. I don't think this one's right. Let's check. Yeah. So if you're not sure and you go through the hint and you can't figure it out, just click Skip for now. And you'll notice we've completed all 4 questions, so that little icon came up to tell us that we had finished. If you go Skip for now, it'll say your score and how many points that you got. Now, ideally, I'd want you to try and get 100% on this exercise, or at least close to 100%. So at this point, I would go through the exercise once more. And if you can't do better than that score, that's where I would kind of come and I'd be watching your guys' attempts, and I'd be sending you a message or giving you a call to try and help you out there. But in order to repeat your score, you might be wondering, okay, where do I go? Well, what do I do? Now, if you click Done, it automatically brings you, it should automatically bring you, okay, back to the home page here. I don't know why I didn't do that. And if we look, under the Assignments tab, the main one that I want you to focus on is the Course Mastery, because that's kind of what your goal is. You want to get this guy as close to 100% as possible. But if you click on the Assignments here, you will actually see the exercise that we just did, the assignment that we just did. You can see your score and actually look at the questions that you got wrong, which ones gave you trouble. Okay. But if you want to try again, you want to level up your score. If you didn't open the link from D2L, or if you didn't go back and open it from D2L, you can just click Try Again. But this screen is important. I don't want you to spend too much time on the screen. It's not something that we're going to be using a lot. But if you want to see if you, say, got credit for completing the video, if you got a mark here, you want to look there, that's really what that's for. Okay? So I hope that was useful. I hope you guys are able to go through these first couple of assignments on your own. If you are having trouble, like I said, don't be afraid to message me. And remember, you need to go through all of the work that is on the D2L content page for me as soon as possible. This is all due at the end of the week.